All right, well, welcome back, everyone. We've got our second interview with UFC heavyweight Jared Vanderaa. So, first of all, mate, Jared Vanderaa, the fighter, that's all great, but how is Jared Vanderaa, the person, doing today? Obviously, the world's all on its head at the moment, so how are you doing?
I am tired.
Yeah,
I have a newborn. She's about a month old 2 days ago. So I'm busy at home.
yeah,
I have a 4-year-old who acts like she's 14. So that's always fun.
That was actually our next question was we did see you had a baby girl. So how is she doing? And how is the family doing at the moment?
Sleep deprived, uh, tired. But I mean, overall, can't complain. The baby's healthy. The other one, she's acting like, she's 14. So attitude, emotional breakdowns every 10 minutes. It's just, it's fun.
yeah, it's fine. Exactly, that's
Sounds
it.
like fun.
So, Jared, back in May, you picked up your first win in the UFC over Australian-based Justin Tafa in what both Josh and I think was one of the greatest heavyweight fights I've ever seen. I mean, I remember I was on the edge of my seat watching it, just an absolute war back and forth. So how was that feeling being able to get the nod over Justin in what was a really back and forth contest?
I was just a little worried second round when I got cut. I felt like I was landing more shots in the first that, kind of set the pace. And I knew that when I checked a few of his kicks, it stopped him from kicking in general. So it took one of his tools away. And then just like the second round, I was worried about, getting stopped because of the blood or the blood affecting me. I do remember that like half my eye was covered in blood, so I was literally fighting with half an eye for a couple rounds. I'm like, okay, I can't see. Let's hope this blood like washes away. Third round, I wasn't for sure how things were going. Just because I'm a pessimist, I just think the worst of things. Like, oh, shit's going south. I'm not going to win this. But when I accidentally hit the boys, I was like, ah, shit, we got 30 seconds. I could use this time to really win this round because I wasn't for sure where I was going. And yeah, no. So I was like, okay, well, I need to show that I'm using this time to like get as much oxygen in me and then to throw immediately. So judges don't like me, so I was really skeptical and happy that I won and got the fight of the night. So
Yeah, and it certainly was a great fight. Again, it's definitely up there for me in my top 5 heavyweight fights that I've ever seen. It was just a war, and that cut was nasty. I mean, I was watching, I had a similar thought as you when I was watching it. I was like, oh crap, are they going to stop this? Because it was a bad cut, but it didn't seem like you were, in terms of it was damaging your ability to be able to fight and to be able to defend yourself accurately. And I'm so glad they didn't stop that fight.
So, we we did have Sam Alvey on the podcast. It was, former teammate of yours, and a few months back, we asked him how he found training under the tutelage of Dan Henderson. And how have you found being in an environment with surrounded by Sam Alvey, who's a real UFC vet? How has his experience and knowledge helped you grow as a fighter and as a martial artist?
Sam's a fun person to get around. Like the one thing he is just very positive. So if you are one of those people that don't like really negative spaces and stuff like that, he's that person that kind of keeps the peace. He's very positive and outgoing. That like people I've seen lately that people are like, oh, he forces that smile. I'm like, no, this motherfucker just doesn't stop smiling. Like that's all he does, and he's just that positive influence. Now, me and him are kind of cut from two different cloths of the martial arts realm, and so we do butt heads on like certain philosophies of styles and stuff like that. But that's his viewpoints and my viewpoints, and they've both taken us places. So I can't really tell Sam like, hey, your ideas are garbage because hey, look at where you're at. And then he can't really say the same thing about me because I'm in the same place, and we just have two different mindsets about things. And but I mean, he is a good person to have around. He's me and him. We do kind of follow certain things. Like me and him both kind of jumped on the TikTok scene roughly about the same time. I was beating him. I was like, yeah, I have more followers than you. I'm doing it. And then he pulled out, oh, my wife's a supermodel card. And I'm like, that's weak. Like, that's cheating. Like,
yeah, the game's rigged at that point. So,
yeah,
Jared,
exactly.
Obviously, just under 4 weeks now until your next fight against a very tough and durable Alexander Romanov. How has camp preparation been going so far? Obviously, with a newborn at home, it's got to be a lot tougher than usual.
Yeah, I don't know. The newborn's not as bad as camp. Camp's been fucking stupid because we've just been going over and over just everything about this wrestling, just wrestling. I mean, I don't think he's as durable as a lot of other people, but his wrestling is what makes him look durable. So,
have you made any adjustments for this camp as opposed to previous camps to sort of combat that wrestling heavy style?
I wouldn't say adjustments. Like this is MMA. Like I am making sure my stand-up's on point, my grappling's on point, and my wrestling. It's now, yes, we're more wrestling heavy, so everything is like, all right, what are we going to do to counter the wrestling? What are we going to do to improve on this position, that position? What are you going to do when he does X, Y, and Z? Like I wouldn't say we're doing anything that I haven't done before. It's just, yeah, we're honing it to be as quick and as effective as possible. And then we're just keeping it on the simpler side. We don't need like 52 moves to like beat Rome. We need like 5. And we're honing those 5 things, and we're hoping that's enough to block them. Now, my wrestling coach really took a shining to this opportunity because I just started working with him, maybe like not even intensely either, a couple weeks before the Speedback fight. Whereas, with nerves and stuff, I think that all played a factor in my loss. Now, this time my wrestling coach is taking out the nerves of wrestling, and all we're doing is wrestling. And my wrestling coach isn't a little guy himself. He's 6'2", about 290, just sheer muscle. Like he is a walking, you look at him and you're like, damn, like you need stop eating.
Stop.
You big.
You big. Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's kind of leads into our next question that you were talking about, is that obviously people look at Romanov and it's the wrestling. That's what they look at. And they go, 14-0, coming off a split decision. And he's got the wrestling, but at the end of the day, this is mixed martial arts. As you say, everyone's training every aspect. Obviously, people have strengths and weaknesses, and you can't give away the entire game plan. But what are some weaknesses, if you can give them away, that you see that you can exploit?
One weakness is not even a weakness; it's just my preference, and this actually kind of comes back to like 2-3 questions ago about Sam. I like fighting lefties. I have my last opponent was a lefty. My current opponent's a lefty. For a good 90% of my fighting career have been lefties. So I wouldn't say that's like, for me, fighting a lefty isn't a disadvantage. I know a lot of people that I feel very uncomfortable fighting lefties. Definitely not one of them. And I actually feel like because they're not used to having a righty that's comfortable fighting lefties, so I think that's a big opening I could, utilize against Romanov. I feel like, I have enough tools in Muay Thai that could definitely make him second guess himself.
Yeah, definitely. October 9th, you go out there and you finish Romanov. What's next for you, and how quickly would you like to get back in the octagon?
Depending on injuries and stuff like that, I'm hoping after this fight, after the win, I would like to see maybe Tanner Bosner, Andre Orlowski, someone that's not necessarily in the top ranks, but pretty damn close.
Yeah.
Kind of like a gatekeeper of sorts.
What about like a title with Asa?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind Ty. Plus, I
Australian
think
coach.
him and Justin being former training partners, I think that would be one of those things where he might want to get that one back.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I personally feel like the heavyweight division it's the most exciting it's been in years because we're kind of getting a resurgence of new contenders and up and comers. So how do you feel about the state of the heavyweight division? Is it exciting for you having all these younger new heavyweights, like a Tom Aspinall, like a Cyril Gane that are coming up now and really adding some new blood to the division?
Actually, I do like it because, like I said, one of the gatekeepers, I think, to the top 15 is Andre Arlovski. As much as I'm a fan of him, he's been around for a while. Same with Ben Rothwell. I know he got a little butthurt when I called him out, but that was just because I'm a guy that likes to fight. He looked like a guy that likes to fight, and, but you get these older guys that have been in it, and, it's not as exciting to see like Ben Rothwell and Andre when you've seen them 100 of other times.
Yeah.
But then you get like someone like Aspinall that throws a fucking, defense Sergey's takedown by throwing a fucking knee and an elbow from hell. You're like, oh, that guy. He's fun to watch.
Yeah.
It was just a little, so you're getting these new ones. I think a one person that I think a lot of people don't know is that's exciting to watch is Chris Darkus. Oh my God, that dude's boxing is just stupid. I've watched him. I'm like, God damn. Like, I'm a fan. I'm like, that's gonna be a hard fight. I see Chris Dark. I'm like, I'm gonna see you down the road. Like, just know I respect you. It's going to be a fun fight. But, yeah, no, like, he's someone that makes it exciting. Like we were saying, Tom, that's another one. And, yeah, you're getting these bigger, newer names that you're just like, ooh, this is interesting.
Yeah.
What kind of as you sort of make your way into the rankings eventually, what kind of, say, dream fights do you have or similar question, but, exciting fights you see at the top, in the top 10 that you'd really like to have?
All right, so I would be interested to see in me and Rosenstruck. Because I feel like our Muay Thai styles are a bit more similar. But I would also like to kind of go with Cyril Gane just because I think like he's not the guy that's going to knock you out with power every shot. He's not going to hit you with a power shot. He's going to touch you. He's going to touch you. He is going to like wear you down as you rush into him, and he's going to throw a cross, but you run into that cross. And then, or he's going to beat you down with time, cardio, and patience like he did with Derek Lewis. He wasn't trying to beat Derek Lewis in these big shots. He just let Derek Lewis do it, though. And then just tired him out. And then he picked him apart. So I think, like, attribute-wise, I would like to see my Muay Thai go against the higher-level ones. So I would think those would be some good options. Eventually, considering how this camp goes, I would say Romanov might be the best wrestler in the heavyweight division. But I still believe that Curtis Blades is the best wrestler in MMA, or best wrestling for MMA in the heavyweight division. And, this fight, beating Romanov, especially like defending the wrestling, I think would give me that want to drive to eventually fight Curtis Blades.
And you were talking earlier about how you've been wrestling a lot more intensely with your new wrestling coach. So it makes me think, obviously you also have Dan Henderson, who would be a great coach. But when the world opens up because of COVID, who's one coach that you've always wanted to work with, whether it's BJJ, boxing, wrestling, Muay Thai, grappling?
I don't know, because like sometimes I've seen, I don't necessarily think the coaches make the athlete necessarily, because I've seen like what's deemed bad coaches make good athletes type of thing. So, I mean, there are maybe people who like to maybe pick their brain, but there's no one that really like stands out as a, oh, I want to train with X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the top coaches, aren't necessarily saying you need to do this to beat that. I'm pretty sure all the 5 top coaches are saying the same thing to their people. It's just, what coach do you resonate the most with?
Mm.
So if, we'll go with Dwayne Ludwig. I think he's a phenomenal striking coach. But, what if I go there and I just don't vibe with him,
Yeah. If
And
that
it
click
sounds
doesn't
stupid.
happen.
Yeah. And I'm one of those people that like to, vibe with my coaches and stuff like that. I learn a lot more, and I get a lot more from my coaches if I, vibe with you.
Mm.
If me and you, butt heads, it makes it harder for me to grow.
Yeah.
Because of that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. There's obviously been a lot of, talk lately about banning the oblique kick, mainly, more so after the Modestas Bukakis fight. Do you think a kick like this should be banned, when things like heel hooks are legal and can cause just as much damage?
No. Just because I've been on, I've actually been on the receiving end of oblique kicks. First, I'm a firm believer of checking. A lot of MMA fighters do not check kicks. The last real fight that I saw with checking that was consistent was the Giga and Edson Barbosa fight. And chef kissed amazing on the Muay Thai and Kyoshigin styles going at it. I thought it was a great fight. But I do think a lot of people are very unaware of, how to defend the oblique kick. And I think with I don't know the guy that got his ACL torn to pieces, but he was turning his foot out when he threw a jab. He was throwing it very similar to a boxer would.
Yeah.
Exposing his knee in a bad place. So I don't necessarily think it should be banned. I think, you kind of have to, this is MMA. If you put yourself in a position where you get like that, And I mean, who's going to, how can we say knee damage is better than brain damage,
Yeah.
I think John Jones had the best, answer to that. It's I'm going to damage your knee if you're going to damage my brain.
Mm.
Recovery of a knee is very possible. Recovering of brain damage actually hasn't really shown any signs of help. You could have certain foods and certain supplements that might help brain growth, but in the long term, you could blow off your knee and you can still walk 6 months later.
Yeah. So we've heard the interview where you said that you sparred Sean Strickland and it was a bit of a scrap in the gym. How do you see his fight going down with Luke Rockhold in November? Because it's obviously Rockhold's been out for a bit. He's had those losses in the later stages of his career, but Rockhold's still just a big step up in competition. So how do you see that fight going down?
Rockhold getting knocked down the first.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, I don't know why, but I have a feeling Strickland doesn't like Rockhold. I have a feeling. I don't know.
Just a gut feeling. Don't know why.
Yeah, I want to say there's some animosity. I could be completely wrong, but I feel like Strickland's going to beat him in the first.
Yeah.
How is your nose after that? Because he did mention he busted your nose quite a bit, and that's
4 years ago he broke my nose. 4 or 5 years ago, something like that. I didn't even realize it was broken. He actually had to stop me and be like, "Hey, your face is crooked." You know it's bad when Strickland's like, "Yeah, your face is that way."
Yeah, I think that's the first story we've heard from a fighter saying that Strickland wanted to stop sparring at a point rather than keep going. But so look, Jared, obviously, firstly, we want to know what's your official prediction for the contest in just under 4 weeks, and are there any messages to the masses that are beginning to love the mountain in the UFC?
I think my guess is I'm gonna be his first one. I'm gonna be popping that cherry on that 0. I think via TKO.
TKO.
Yeah.
We heard it here first, guys. So firstly, Jared, thanks so much for joining us today. We loved having you on, loved talking to you. Wish you the best of luck for the rest of your camp, and obviously best of luck for the contest in just under 4 weeks. So guys, make sure you tune in to see Jared Vaneraa fight. The last time was a war. This time he's predicting a quick finish. So thanks very much for joining us today, man.
Thank you for having me, gentlemen.